What's going on, everybody on YouTube? Steve here with Rake in Profit. Welcome back to another Green Room show. Tonight, we've got an awesome show. The title is From Normal to Nomadic, how three guys built a profitable media company. So we got our buddies, Jacob, Tim, and Mac with Venture Addicts. Follow them on Instagram. What's going on, everybody? Chris, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we're going to pass it over to the guests and let them introduce who they are and what they do.
All right, what's going on, guys? I am Chris, the Bonafide Hustler. I reside in Austin, Texas. On a part-time basis, I flip stuff that I find at yard sales, flea markets, garage sales, pawn shops, swap meets, big box stores, and I flip it for money on places like eBay, Amazon, Craigslist, my antique booth, and consignment stores in town. That's what I do. I'm one of the owners of the greenroomuniversity.com. It's the second link down below. Go check it out. But let's get to our guests tonight, and we have Tim, Mac, and Jacob. What is going on? And you guys are in different houses, right, for the most part?
Me and Tim are in Houston right now, and Jacob is in Austin.
Jacob is in Austin. Oh, okay, cool. I think that city's kind of cool. I've heard good things about it. So, anyways, yeah, we got a star-studded, how do I say it, show. If these guys look familiar to you, it's because they were actually the people behind the scenes doing all the footage for the Green Room meetup and seminar. So, anyways, thank you guys for that. We still owe them a big lunch or dinner, Rake, and I just
that's a dinner, man. A big dinner.
I don't know if they can handle the Salt Lick though, or something like that. But I'm thinking something like the Salt Lick, or anyway, it's gonna be good.
Salt Lick would do justice.
I think it would be great. So, anyways, that's the show today. We're gonna be delving into their business, kind of like their habits and all that kind of stuff, success stories, and basically the resources that they use to, basically go nomadic. So let's cut right into the program. Rakin. Come on, you ready to interview? You ready to interview him?
Let's dive into it. Let's start off with a little background story, guys, of kind of a little bit about yourselves, some interesting facts, how you got started. So yeah, what's going on, Mac? You want to start it off, man? What's your story?
For sure. Me and Jacob and Tim all went to the same high school, actually, and after we graduated high school in 2012, we all kind of took different routes. I went to nursing school in college. Jacob was a bartender, and Tim actually was in school and worked at HP. So we all kind of took different routes after college, but maintained in touch.
Okay, cool. So what got you guys into the whole film part of the whole thing? Let me ask you that. I'm gonna interject with a question here, but what got you into the film aspect of what you guys do?
So after we graduated high school, anytime I got time off of school, Jacob and I would take a trip, just do some small time travel, just pay for the cheapest plane tickets we could, and we started taking GoPros on trips and trying to take cool videos, and it was the dorkiest looking video you can imagine. We hate looking at our old stuff, but that's how we got into the film aspect. So literally just, let's make the coolest video we can with a GoPro in our phones, and we were going to Colorado, Oklahoma, any place close by, any place we could afford a cheap plane ticket.
Okay, cool. Were you guys spending nights in vans and stuff like that, or cars or tents?
Absolutely, only that stuff. We couldn't afford the hotels, so we'd actually budget travel you wouldn't even imagine. If we could take care of the plane ticket there, then we would go. So we would save up I think our first trip was actually $68 a piece to Colorado.
68 a piece.
Yeah, and that's all we saved. I mean, that's literally was our only mental expense. If we could go there, then we made it happen, and then we couch surfed while we were there. I think we may have spent $15 in food while we were there for about our 4 days. So that was our.
Yeah, and still till this. Every time we travel, we still only spend about $300 a piece. So it's more than just trying to save money. Even if we are making money and doing better, it's still a fun habit to get into and get a taste of the real traveling world.
So that's actually how we got started in the film aspect. We could have just traveled and not filmed at all, but we became kind of obsessed, if you want to say, with making it look cooler and cooler as we went, but never any formal training of film.
Okay, so let me before we get to the gist of the show and the meat of the show, first of all, I want people on the other side of the feed that are watching this live right now to see your Instagram. What is your Instagram right now? And you're gonna get kind of you know, like a bird's eye view of what they do, the pictures that they take, the videos that they take, the things that they put together. And it's a lot of outdoor based stuff. In fact, mostly all of it that I've seen on your Venture Addicts thing has been outdoor based. So it's Venture Addicts, correct?
That's correct. So here
It's
it
the
is.
first link down below.
Yep, Venture Addicts.
There we go.
Go ahead and speak real quick.
Venture.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it centered. So it is the first link down below. And
Oh,
you know, the reason why we brought these guys on the Rake and Profit show is because they've found a way to be able to create their own lifestyle, right? Where they're able to help people make a difference, make money, and build a business while really enjoying themselves. And they document that on their Instagram. So let's talk more about your business. Let's define your business for all the people who are watching right now who want to have the freedom to travel, the freedom to live, you know, a life not only with passion, but work a job that you really love and enjoy, and you don't have a boss. So let's define your business. Like, how does your actual business work? I know you guys own a media company. Talk about what it is, how it works, how you actually make money from that business.
Yeah, I'll break down the sources of revenue that allow us to, well, just to kind of give a heads up, a lot of people ask us like, oh, how do you travel for a living? They think we just try. The Instagram is probably to blame for that. It makes it look like we're just on the road all the time. We have all the money in the world, but that's not the case. We actually do run a business on the side. And to break down the sources of income, we have monthly clients that we manage social media for. And that is in industries from supercar dealerships to chiropractors, to co-working spaces, anybody that needs like a marketing aspect. We kind of honed our skills in the social media aspect. And so we manage those. So that's an income source. We have one-off media creation jobs, like big concerts. I know Jacob and Tim just got back from Oklahoma where they did Juicy J and Metro Boomin. I don't know if people here know who that is, but so it's big concert venues like that. So that's two. And then kind of to keep us afloat on the harder months, a source of income is actually reselling. That's what keeps us going.
Okay. Now, when you resell something, is it outdoor-based goods? Do you go to some of these like exchanges that are in some of the towns and you find stuff that you already know about, or what kind of things are you reselling?
It's unfortunately not. I resell a lot of iPhones. So I'll do electronics, iPhones, and then I'll also do clothing from my local thrift store. But I think a lot of my biggest profits are from iPhones. What about you? What's your?
One of my highest profit margins on anything I've ever done was like diabetes strips. We just went garage sale shopping, and this guy had just boxes and boxes of diabetes strips, and I got them for like $3, and I think I turned around for about $9 a box. So it was insane. And then another guy had like neti pots. So essentially, I think a lot of the reselling is just kind of like this very, very widespread arbitrage of what can I find while I'm there, search eBay and see if I can't do something with it.
And Jacob,
Dude,
video games.
I just bought a neti pot. It's awesome.
I've never used one. People love them.
Yeah, so to answer your question, no. I wish we did more outdoor goods, but I just haven't found much at thrift stores and garage sales.
Okay. Yeah, I just came from Colorado, and they've got thrift exchanges, a couple places in that town, plus thrift stores, and they got all kinds of good stuff, man. Like anything you can think of, man. They had everything, like downhill helmets and down jackets and all kinds of cool stuff. But anyway, I guess that was in one Colorado town that I was at. Let's talk about success stories real quick, and let's let Jacob lead with this one. But share a story of one of your biggest successes to date that you've had with your business, Jacob, or anybody can really answer it, but I want to go to Jacob real quick on this one.
My opinion is just why we all started. Our biggest client, most consistent client, we worked with a chiropractor, and it just brought us in a very consistent income, and we've learned everything. I mean, it was like a guinea pig experiment, but also the real deal at the same time. It was a really good way to get started, and we're still going ever since then. I think it was more than just success, but helping us be where we are now, just a half year later.
Okay. Now, that, to my understanding, is that client still with you guys, or are you guys parted ways? I can't remember the story anymore. We don't need to discuss the story, but you're always in search for good clients, right?
Yeah. no, we're no longer with that client, but we stay in touch with him. He's very, very good friends with us. He's actually, he's moved from Texas, and now he lives out in Utah now. So he had a pretty drastic, life change, and we still stay in touch with him.
Okay, so what's another success story that's like directly tied to maybe being nomadic or out in the wild that you can share, where you guys maybe had the same success, or where you maybe going to Colorado and $68 a head or something like that is considered a success, or saving money on the road? Share with me some stories like maybe that really sparked the whole thing besides the client and everything like that.
What really helps with me is I think Jacob hit on this when he said it's more than just the actual money that we were paid to do a job. It was that we would be traveling and we would see our bank account go up. And I think that was like the most, I mean, you feel that in your heart when you could be doing something you love and then you see, and it could be $50. It doesn't need to be anything. But if you're driving down the coast of California and you see that you either made a sale on eBay, or you see that you invoiced a client and he paid you, I think that was one of the really big, like, oh my God, we can do this. Like, we can be entrepreneurs and we don't have to clock into a job or something like that. So that was a huge success for me.
Hey, let me ask you guys, there's so many different ways to make money out there, right? Whether it's reselling on eBay or Amazon, or starting your own social media company, or, a brick and mortar pizzeria. From the outside perspective, people may look at something, like a pizzeria or a reselling business or starting your own media company and kind of label it. It's going to be like this, like, I'm going to love this, I'm going to hate this, but you never really know until you run the business. What is maybe one thing that you absolutely love about, running your own media company, which you've kind of already talked about, the freedom of it all and traveling and helping others. But what's one thing you love and one thing you hate for the people out there who are like, I've always thought about this. Maybe I want to start my own media company eventually.
So I think one thing that we love when it comes to running a media company, it's all centered around marketing. And marketing is just storytelling. And one thing that I've learned dramatically from Jacob and Mac has been storytelling. How do we take a concept, or how do we take a trip, and how do we eloquently show it to a viewer, and get them to bite, whether that is bite on the story, or for a client, whether that's to bite on a product. And I'd say that really has been like the upside. That's what we love to do. That right there is our bread and butter as a company. And for me personally, one thing that I hate is being a media company is all about people. And when it's all about people, it's difficult to scale. And so everything that you do is still essentially tied to time. You can stretch it a little bit, or you can shrink it. But at the end of the day, you still need to, put in the work to be able to do it. You don't create something once really and then resell it over and over again. So that's where the scalability comes in. And then that's where it can be seen as, okay, maybe this isn't the best way, or maybe this isn't the way I want to make my money. And so going into, hey, do I want to run a media company? It's, am I willing to get on the phone with clients? Am I willing to put in the time? Am I willing to answer client emails when they email you at 11 o'clock at night? They're expecting something really, really quickly and a quick turnaround. And if you're willing to do that, then yes. And if you're willing to put in the work to be able to manage people so that you can grow and scale a business, then you're good to go. And if not, then I would seriously rethink, how can I create a business that's sustainable when maybe I don't want to answer an email, or maybe when I'm sick.
Yeah, it's very stressful. Not to say it's not, all this isn't stressful. Like, there's the good and the bad. You take it.
Yeah, there's not. Chris, what are your thoughts on that? Because reselling, there's a little bit of communication with the buyer, but for the most part, you're not communicating a ton. So I know the people who are watching now, they're a lot of them are going to be hardcore resellers, eBay and Amazon, and they might not be used to the interaction. I'm actually working with Jacob right now, and he's working on the video introduction for my new Rake and Profit show that's coming soon. And Jacob and we've been going back and forth hardcore. There's been a lot of communication going on. And I could see just from like standing in his shoes how it could probably be stressful. Oh, I want this change. I didn't like this. Or I like this. I don't like that. So for the average reseller, Chris, do you think they would be ready to adjust to something like that, running, the interaction that's required, that it kind of sounds like?
I think it just depends if you're an introvert, extrovert. If you're trained in sales, I mean, you would be, if you're an extrovert, you're trained in sales, which a lot of people, get into sales after college and stuff like that. I think that helps a lot. But if you don't like doing certain things in a business, you can always outsource it to your family, friends, pay them a little bit, right? Or you can get a Google Voice number, right? Or you can train somebody to do certain things for you that you don't want to do. But I think it's important, that said, that when you're starting a business, that you run each and every part of the gambit first, so you can teach it to someone else, right? When you don't, even if you don't like it, like I don't like certain parts about my business, but I've learned how to do it, and I can pass it off if I want to. When we work the green room behind the scenes, we work to our strengths, right? And the things that I don't like to do, someone else definitely likes to do, right? Or we outsource it. And that's what you have to learn is, like, if you're trying to tackle all of your business by yourself, like, it's nearly impossible. Like Rakin, in preparation for his new show, I know behind the scenes that he's got like 3 VAs that he's training up. And that's a huge piece of the project, but you have to be willing to do some of that stuff if you want great things in return, right? Rakin, do you want to be booking all your guests and everything like that down the line? I mean,
well, I've
you
done
gotta
that
do some of them.
so
Yeah,
long.
you've done it before, but you realize you don't want to do it later.
But I realize that if I want to be able to give to my audience and add as much value and give more time to help and, like, really, thinking about the things that make the biggest difference, I need to outsource the things that aren't really my strengths and aren't really playing to what I'm looking to accomplish, which is helping my audience and adding value in terms of, like, my YouTube channel and whatnot. So that was a good point right there. Now let me ask you guys, Jacob, what do you think's a piece of advice you would give to the people listening right now if they wanted to get started with their own media company? They wanted to travel, they wanted to maybe acquire clients and do their social media for them, or maybe they're a videographer, or they just want to kind of help them to manage the content process or the social media. Like I was saying, what's a good first piece of advice for someone to acquire their first client or to grab their first gig?
Well, a cool thing that happened with us was, we didn't know this would happen. 2 years ago, if you would have told me I was owning a media company and editing hours a day, I would have been like, yeah, right. Like I was a bartender. I wanted to manage restaurants. Like, it was a totally different thing 2 years ago. And, there's not all happened because we just did what we loved. One day we picked that up and we started doing that. And that's just how it happened. Other than like people who sat in their garage and tried making software happen, we were just one day like, hey, let's start filming, blah, blah, blah. And people started noticing us, started growing. It was a breeze because we were just doing what we did, We weren't going out of our way. We weren't trying to create something new. We were just doing us. So I guess my advice would just be do what you love. I know it sounds kind of dumb, kind of cliche, but that's literally what we did, and it worked, and it's working.
When you made a decision to build a media company, was it like all three of y'all got together with beers and you're like, all right, like this is cool, let's just do this forever? Or was it something that was very slow where you're like, all right, we know we want to do this, let's at least get the LLC formed, let's get the CPA involved, did you go step by step, or like how did you guys all three decide we love this and we're going to do this? Like, at what point did that happen?
Well, it's a crazy story. I had just dropped out of college and I was in a full-time job. Tim was in a full-time job and Jacob was bartending. And so one day, this is when we were traveling and making videos on our downtime. So one day, I'm a huge fan of Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure, I know y'all have heard of him. I'm sure a lot of your audience has too. But I saw he was coming to Houston, and on his Twitter account, he said, I need somebody to film. My personal videographer's not going to be here. And so I hit him on Twitter, and I was like, hey, and I had to like make a Twitter. I had to like log in. I just knew that he would be on Twitter. And so I made a Twitter, and I was like, hey, I'll be there. And he's like, well, email this guy, say you can be there, whatever. And I didn't get an answer, so I just so me and Tim went, and I just showed up, and I said, hey, I'm your guy. I'm the guy that they chose to film you. And he's like, great, that sounds great. And so I took the footage, I sent the footage to Jacob, and I said, this is footage of Gary Vaynerchuk in Houston. Let's make a video for him and send it to his team. So it got sent on Twitter and it got blasted around. And this guy in Houston said, hey, I need that kind of video for my chiropractic practice. And that's the chiropractic
cool.
I referred to early on Twitter. That's
amazing.
And I didn't know how serious it was. I didn't know if I was a guy that just needed us to film a 2-minute video. So we show up. So we meet him at his office, and he says, "Hey, you know, long story short, he was one of the largest chiropractors in the world." And he said, "Hey, I want you to document my journey in my life, and this is going to be a full-time gig." And that's when that night, that's when we made our first proposal, going there not knowing that we were going to make a proposal.
We didn't have a business. Like it's 3 guys.
Yeah, this is
LLC, no nothing. It's we're making a document here. And it's like, this is what we propose to do for you, and this is what we're gonna call ourselves.
Yeah, we all still had our full-time gigs, and then we asked for a price, and I threw a ballpark price. I don't know if I can talk about exact numbers on here or anything, but I threw out an exact price that would support all 3 of us full-time. It was a very and he showed up a little bit lower. We still could all 3 quit our jobs at the price we agreed on, and that's when we did it. And we were all supported on one client, and then we grew it from there. So we would work on him, then I would go pick up another client. Tim would feed in another client. Jake would feed somebody in, and that's we actually filed for an LLC after the fact because it would have looked weird on taxes for us to be making that money without a reason for it. So we actually filed after we got our first couple clients.
So what did Gary Vaynerchuk think about your stuff too? What did you do exactly for him? Did you just give him like a short, or what did you give him?
I gave him, it was like a 2-minute highlight reel of the meetup. So I'll send it to y'all later. So I can't show it now.
It's actually on our YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually on our YouTube. But it's basically just highlighting the most influential or the most inspiring little 10-second short clips that he would say, where he'd speak life into somebody there, and then they would cut to fireworks and cut to them going nuts. So it was a really well edited video by Jacob, but his team loved it. I don't know if it ever made it on his channel or anything, but it was a blast meeting him, and it got us we thought it was going to get us, the reason we were making it was we're going to work for Gary Vaynerchuk kind of. It was like, oh, I want to be your client, and then somebody else wanted to be the client, and then we were like, maybe we can make this entrepreneurship thing work. So
that's cool, man. All it takes is one. You know what I like about that story though, is the fact that you're like, I didn't have a Twitter, so I made a Twitter. But more importantly, that you went there really not seeking any sort of compensation. You went there to do something for free because you presented what you only knew of value, which was your skills and your film skills and Jacob's editing skills, and you brought that forward for free, which I think is really important, because if you read his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook, you can't just come into the world with a right hook. You just can't. You got to come in with jabs, and jabs are just endless amounts of free stuff that you give of yourself until you get traction. Rakin, help me with that statement. What does that mean to you, Rakin? Jab, 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 right hook.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a different type of economy and world now where there's so much noise, there's so much competition. Everybody's looking to get the business. In order to get the business now, and it's the same with YouTube channels, and people build businesses out of YouTube channels by giving. And it's kind of like a universal law as well. If you give and you help and you make a difference, it will come back to you. And just a new way to do business now. You've got to give first. You can't just go out there with your hand out saying, I want this, because there's just too much noise. You won't stand out that way.
That's right.
Even to this day, we still do a lot of stuff for free. How much, percentage-wise, what do you think you do for free?
I think it's about 50-50. We do a lot of jobs where it's just like, hey, yeah, we'll film, we'll collaborate with you. And it's a video, and ironically, we charge a client $800 over here to do it, since it might be an influencer over here on Instagram that we do.
Right.
So
it's a relationship building technique.
We definitely, as much as it's great, I'm sure it's great for a lot of people to make that upfront money, but I think in today's world, it's undervalued to work, how valuable it is to work for free in terms of long-term relationship building. I think it's much more. I think I would rather build a relationship with a long-term influencer because of what might come of it, rather than receive $1,000 for a one-time gig.
How long would you say it takes on average, and I guess even conversion-wise, if you were to do something for free for somebody, how often does that really convert to like a long-term relationship versus, you know, people might be thinking, you know, I'm going to give my time, my effort, I'm going to do this and that. Like, people are probably worried, like, what if it never comes back to me? What do you have to say about that from your experience of giving something free and not looking for anything in return? How often does that lead to a long-term relationship and more business for your company?
I think this is an excellent example here. You know, we came to you guys and we made that video. And I mean, it was purely out of, we love what you guys did. We love the message
appreciated the content.
And that's the thing. The value for us was going there and learning about reselling, because we got to sit in on the entire green room experience. But now look at this. Now, Raken, you're paying us to be able to create your intro video. And so I think a lot of it is that there's always value. It is, we're going to give the value of video. What do we get? Do we maybe get exposure? Do we get something? But we never expect it to mature into a monetary thing. That's just, it never really comes to mind.
Yeah, but to answer the other side of this question, if you're about to hit on it, like, if it doesn't come of anything, like, then you got to create media, you know, and that's our passion at the end of the day. So, like, I think for both sides of it, I think it's oftentimes it comes back to you way faster than you can ever imagine. I mean, like, sometimes like 2 months, which is super quick. And then other times, then the answer to the other side of the question, if it doesn't come of anything, you can't expect it. And I think that goes back to Gary Vee's right hook. The right hook is an ask. And if they say no, it's no.
Okay. So let's talk about these resources, some of these top tools, maybe the training programs, courses, or softwares that you recommend that have helped you most in your business. So what do you mean the top? So let's talk about the top tools. Like, clearly you have cameras, right? And you probably have Premiere, is it, or Vegas? What do you guys use?
All Adobe across the board.
Adobe across the board, man. We can't talk to this guy anymore, man. He's not a Final Cut guy. So Adobe across the board, cool. What about cameras? Let's talk about something real quick. This is a question I am getting, what seems to be on a weekly basis now, okay? What's the best vlogging camera, the industry standard vlogging camera? If you had to just say one right now, and you're not affiliated with either Canon or Nikon or whatever, Olympus, what would you say that is? Number one vlogging camera.
The one that you have.
That's a cliche.
Like,
I like that answer.
Wow, that's so interesting. Well, everyone's got a cell phone, dude. Like, like what's the? Okay, so what you have? Okay.
Right, it's the one that you have, and if it's not that, it's something that's just because it's easily portable. You know, you're gonna vlog, so you want something that, in actuality, if you haven't done photography before, you're gonna keep it on automatic anyway. All the settings are gonna be auto for. You're gonna keep it on automatic focus. You're holding it right here. So a point and shoot, like any of the point and shoots.
I do like the Sony point and shoots. Is like where I'm at.
Okay, so Sony point and shoots. Now, if someone has to buy a point and shoot, Tim, what would that be?
I don't have my phone on me, but what are some good point and shoots? There's the GX, I don't know, GX something.
G7X, probably.
I think is a good point and shoot.
Disclaimer: we don't have any point and shoots.
So I'm sorry that I just.
Right.
I felt
all y'all stuff's like industry monsters. Those cameras that you bring around.
Yeah, I felt terrible. People at the meetup asking, "Hey, like, what's a good camera? Like, should I get that camera for my vlog?" And I'm like, "Please don't."
Let's talk about computers. Jacob, industry strategy. What's a great, like, you want to start your own business, maybe a media company, like, what would be the computer to buy or the laptop to buy?
Well, yeah, laptop for sure. I have a tower I had made on iBuyPower, and then when we got more mobile, I had to get a laptop. I think if you go any MacBook Air, like for video, like for editing, audio, you know, you see all artists and videographers are all Apple for a reason.
What specs do you need for video editing?
What's that?
What specs do you think you need for video editing?
You can go as low as like an i5 processor for a Dell. I mean, you can go, I would say $500 to $600 minimal if you don't want any BS. You don't want to get mad at it. You want it to last long term. You do want to go a little bit in. My laptop, for example, is only $1,100. It's a style note. I don't even know what the hell that is. I had it like custom built on iBuyPower. We get to choose specs and pretty much made it designed for just what I do every day, edit. It's on all the time. I'm always running software. Usually I can run like 2, 3, or 4 Adobe softwares at a time, and it all runs smoothly, and I couldn't ask for anything more. I used to have older laptops and desktops that were just not good enough. I mean, they were i3 processors. It was 4 gigs of RAM. The video card was a potato. You just maybe want like a gamer style laptop, or just really a Mac. A Mac is always a good way if you have a little saved up. You got like $1,000, just go all in for sure.
Rakin, before you got your MacBook Pro,
I
had to go this way. I have to do this to you. I'm sorry, but Rakin, before we kept telling Rakin to get a MacBook Pro for 2 years. Like College Picker and I would Rakin would be like, I need to get a new computer. My computer sucks. And the first one was like, what is it, Acer? What was his thing?
Yeah, I think it was an Acer. Something
terrible, or it was like an E-machine. Anyway, it was so bad. Anyway, and then we're like, get a MacBook Pro, and then you got something else that was not a MacBook Pro.
What is it? Toshiba? Is that the brand?
Yeah, Toshiba Satellite or something crazy.
And that broke like 30 days later because I'm trying to edit videos on it, and it just like exploded on itself.
When did you finally get the MacBook Pro? Like a year and a half ago?
It was like 3 or 4 laptops later, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is just crazy. It's like viruses popping up, like it's slowing down, like it's overheating, like it was just going crazy. And Chris kept telling me, get the MacBook. And finally, I'm like, you know what? This guy is annoying me so much. I'm just going to get it. So he stops talking and telling me to get it. So I got it, and the best decision I've ever made in my whole entire life. I got it next to me right now if anyone's wondering.
Yeah. If you're going to build some sort of online business, I really do think, and it's going to bring you're going to be nomadic with it or something like that, and you want to do some sort of video editing. Must have MacBook Pro. Even the smallest screen doesn't even matter. Just get a MacBook Pro. Within 3 years old, you'll be fine. And make sure it's a solid state hard drive. Like at least if it can boot up within seconds, that's the kind of one you want. Let's talk about solid state's the way to go. I mean, you have to do that.
Oh yeah.
So we talked about software. Any kind of courses to become good at what you do, or photography, or any kind of courses that you would recommend?
YouTube University.
University. Yeah.
Oh no, but that's a good question. One thing that helped us a lot, and a big thing that we offer clients, was taking our course on Facebook ads. So like a huge staple in our marketing right now, since Facebook is so huge and the targeting is so insane. We took like a $15 course on udemy.com, or they have an app as well, Udemy. And I think, and it's something I charge, we charge clients $1,000 a month for. So like the return on investment of that, if you apply it, is insane. Absolutely insane. Udemy's huge.
Yeah, Udemy is awesome. I don't understand how I'm always getting courses for $10 and it's like regular price like 100 something. Rakin, do you know what's the method behind the madness? Like, why is it always when I log in, it's like right now $10, and I'm like, okay, cool, and then I log in like months later for another course, and it's like these courses are $10 too. Like I'm like,
they changed it up recently.
But how are people even getting anything remotely close to full price these days that make the courses? I don't get it.
I don't know, but I know that I follow a couple blogs out there of content creators who publish, ebooks. They sell on their website, Udemy. They publish it all over. Udemy has a lot of traffic, and if you're creating content, it's a place where you can make some good money. Like, you're not going to get rich, but you could definitely. I know people making a couple $1,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month off of it.
Yeah,
and you just keep pumping out the courses. So.
And these are small some of these are small, man. Like super small, targeted micro courses, like 1 hour long, 3 hours long. Not very long. So if you consider you're an expert in something, that could be Etsy, selling on Etsy, or building a Shopify store, or running Facebook ads, or how to build Shopify carts properly, or something like that, you can make courses for that kind of stuff. Put it on Udemy, is what you're saying, Rakin, right?
Yeah, like small little niche courses. You don't have to necessarily put out an all-out photography course that's like 50 hours. It could just be, how to photograph cats sitting on your lap, during a podcast. You could really niche down.
Yeah, we actually had a couple guys tell us we need to make a course on the media company about a week ago. So it might be something to come, but we're so busy with client work and our own little side projects that. But it is a good idea. We definitely put some thought into it.
Let me stop you right there. Yeah, what are some of these little side projects? I love how internet puts that little tiny thing, like a little side projects. Okay, what are these little side projects, real quick?
So
tell me what these. What's one of the little ones you have right now?
So it's the transition from marketing other people's products to marketing our own products, because then the scale comes in. So maybe it's you know, a private label product, but there's a lot of stuff in the works, and I hate that that's vague, but it's definitely our own products.
That's cool. You know, I know someone that made. Do you ever heard of those things called dinkum clamps or dinkum mounts?
No, what is that?
It's like the little gooseneck looking thing that you can put a sunshade on in front of like a Red camera or something, or anything
yeah.
like. You know what I'm talking about? They look goosenecky looking. They have a clamp, and then it has like the sunshade, and you can angle it any way you want. I know the person that built that thing, and he makes crazy money. He makes good money off of it, but he still works as a travel photographer for like Travel Channel or like camera guy, whatever. But that was like his thing on the side, and it was private label. I mean, if you go to any of the really big camera stores, you'll see that product sitting right there. It's called a dinkum clamp. It's got a clamp. He even sued GoPro, I want to say, or cease and desisted GoPro with their Jaws clamp because it was a direct copy off of his. But anyways, yeah, I mean, the reason why he made it though is because he's been a videographer for, you know, X amount of years, maybe 10 years, and he's going to all these remote places, and he's like, I need something that can take the sun, you know, out of the screen or out of the lens, you know, where at these certain angles that I needed, depending on how big the camera is or what, and I needed to have a clamp so I can clamp it on some random piece of the camera. So he found an inefficiency, but he was working in that field. And what I'm trying to say is, like, you guys work in this field, you guys are nomadic guys, there's definitely some inefficiencies sitting out there, and you're like, dude, if there could only be a product that would do this, this would be so great for videographers or video producers or editors or whatever. So that's where I think some of the great private label ideas stem from, or inefficiencies. It's just like the Dyson vacuum cleaner guy. He was like, I'm so sick of vacuum cleaners with bags. I'm so sick of vacuum cleaners that lose suction. And I'm sick of vacuum cleaners that have cords, right? So he builds a vacuum cleaner that has incredible suction, no bag, and is cordless, right? Call it an Animal and charge $400 for it, make it look all sweet with all these colors. But what you see is you have an inefficiency, and that's kind of like one of those things. Anyway, I just thought it would be kind of interesting if you guys maybe started looking into that respect for your private label ideas. Since, I mean, vlogging is one of those big things these days. Like, Reagan, everybody's turning to vlogging and like video content, and you know what I'm talking about?
Every single brand is a media company now. Believe it or not, every single brand, every single company is a brand, and brands, one of the number one ways to drive traffic, to build awareness around your brand, is content. You know, we were talking about Gary Vee earlier. He dives into this all the time. We're all a media company, every single person. Now, we're not all capable of creating our own media, whether it's vlogging or blogging or using different platforms like Medium or whatnot. But yeah, man, you know, that's just the way it is nowadays. Times are changing, man. That's why for the people watching right now, if you have your own private label product, you know, you're on Amazon FBA, or you're running an e-commerce business, one of the best ways to drive traffic is by creating your own content, by being your own media company or outsourcing it. So I don't know what I was circling around to, but I
think one of the big aspects about that is we all live in the digital age, and that sounds dumb to say, but it's true. And the thing is, parts of your life are already going to be on the internet. So why not curate that content, whether that's personally for yourself or other you know, groups or people or companies or brands that you're a part of. And if someone else is going to do it, go ahead and just take ownership for it, and make sure that when someone searches your name on Google, it's exactly the persona and exactly the character, exactly what you want to convey as a person. And if you're not doing that, you're not taking full advantage of all of the resources that you have. Because what's the first thing you do if you want to go get a job? You're probably going to Google you. What's one of the things that you do when you go meet somebody? Hey, what's your Instagram handle? What's your Facebook? And so these are the common day. I hate business cards. If I'm right there, I'm asking for your Instagram handle, or I'm asking for your Facebook. This is the way that we could communicate. And if you don't take the opportunity to curate that, you're missing out.
It's true. I curated my Bonafide Hustler content, and that's how you guys found it.
Yeah,
that's what led us to an Indian restaurant in the domain of Austin, where I brought Rakin and College Picker there.
I was like, Tim, Jacob, this guy, he sells stuff on eBay. He's killing it. We got to meet him.
It's crazy. Anyway, it's just kind of full circle, like what happens. You know, it's like you guys come there, you do our event for not free, but we're gonna definitely take you out to lunch or dinner, and then like Rakin needs something from you now, and it's almost like a full circle. It's like you do things out of the goodness of your hearts, or you go out of your way to meet people that might become something. And it definitely did become something, honestly. It probably will become more. Let's go to this statement real quick. Things always change. All right. So think about that statement real quick and name one thing that used to work really well in your business, but is totally not effective anymore. Jacob or Tim or Mac, whoever has the answer to that.
Nobody wants to take that one.
We really haven't been doing it.
How are these guys nomads, but then they can't answer this thing? Like, things are always changing when you're on the road, right? Always.
Well, we've only been doing this for about 2 years, content creation, but even then, the cameras changed. Like, the camera we have now, right when we got it, it was like the god of all cameras. So this isn't so much business related, but now it's it sucks because the computers moved away from the how our camera stores files. So
what
now,
is it? AVCHD? What is it?
What is it again?
H.265.
H.265. That's it.
Oh God,
Right.
that's like super rare.
It's the feature file.
Yeah. So right now it takes an amazing amount of time to upload files to whatever file sharing app we use.
Oh,
so
geez.
with clients, especially with somebody that needs a lot of video content, it would just make a world of difference if we had a faster camera with a smaller file size. So that's what's changing rapidly. Like the technology we use every single day to transfer files for our specific line of work. So we're consistently having to look at massive investments in the new technology.
I'd also say the platforms that we use to share media. You know, Jacob and I, actually, no, one day we're sitting here and we all have our phones out, we all have our computers out. We're all logged into Instagram on each platform, and we're comparing and contrasting how the photos are displayed on each one of these platforms. And it's different beyond from iPhone to Android and from desktop to mobile device. And so all of these little changes come into effect on how are we going to display and how are we going to edit, how are we going to crop, all of that stuff. But then you also have the actual algorithms of these platforms as well.
That's
so back in the day, Instagram, you can
back in the day, it's like 2 months ago.
You can have a quote page, and you could have everybody would see your stuff. But now that's not the way. Like Facebook only shows 1%, if that 1% of your content to your followers. And if it doesn't get traction within a certain amount of time, your organic reach is absolutely nothing.
It's either on or off, I noticed.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so that's a massive point that Tim brought up. Social media changes by the month. So something that that was a pain point for customers that we used to make money 6 months ago isn't now.
Hey, yeah, let's switch gears over to routines, habits, and rituals, because I feel like a lot of people, when they get the mindset, you know, I want to start a business, regardless of what the business is, they're thinking about the outcome that they want. But many times we fail to remember or keep in mind that the magic's really in the process and in the habits and the daily rituals and routines, you know, taking action. What are, you know, this doesn't have to be business related. It could be anything that really incorporates around it, whether it's health or relationships or, you know, morning routines. But what is maybe a couple personal routines or rituals or habits that you guys go through every single day that you feel has helped you to be successful in your business? It might be, you know, a specific action in your business, or it might be a habit that helps with your health. Is there anything that stands out? And maybe you guys could each go about one habit that you really couldn't live without.
Hit it, Jacob. He's muted.
Yeah. So, I mean, practice makes perfect for me. My job is I'm always on a laptop. Back in the day, I mean, me and Mac used to both film. You know, we didn't really have who was better. And then when more traffic came in and more business came in, you know, we had to segregate our jobs. And so I've actually stepped away from on-hands camera and like got on editing. And ever since we started with the chiropractor, I mean, I was editing every day, and I went 6 months consecutive on Premiere Pro in my life, you know, and just that made me so much better at my job. Not from skills and like just learn. I didn't necessarily learn a new affect every day, but just I got so fast and I learned to cut time so much better, and which makes, gets the work out faster, gets the job done faster. And yeah, just at least in my jurisdiction, just doing it every day has helped tremendously.
Number one biggest thing that really helped me over the past couple months is setting my phone in another room for my alarm to go off. I was super terrible at like laying in bed for 30, like every single morning I'd lay in bed for 30 minutes and scroll through Instagram or something. But since I put my phone in another room for my alarm to go off, it makes me get up every morning. And I've done that for probably 6 months now. It's been the best thing in the world.
Okay. That's a pretty good one. What about you?
I'd say reading or consuming content that at some point I'm going to get an ROI on. And I think that's what really started me on my entrepreneurial journey, if you want to call it that, which was, everybody, or a large majority of everybody is a consumer. How can you be a producer? What can you create of value so that you can exchange that value for something else? And ultimately, the economy runs exactly like that. It's, you have a job, you have a skill, that job pays you for that skill, and you're good to go. Is there any way that you can get outside of that? And I think reading every single day or consuming content or having conversations with people like Mac, where you say, hey, do you have this problem? And you're like, yeah, I have this problem too. How can we solve that? Is there something that we can do to solve that? Or, dude, I need $1,000 because I want to buy something. What can we do? Okay, now it's reselling. So I think being able to consume content that ultimately is going to better you somehow, and consistently having conversations with people that are going to better you somehow. Because ultimately, as I don't want to sound personal development-y, because that's what doesn't sound fun, but you got to get better, and you guys are already on the path to doing that, because you said there's a way that I can take used goods and I can flip it. I can flip it for money, or I can flip it because it's a hobby. It's exactly the same thing here, where you're taking yourself and you're getting better at something. So I think it's the consistent drive every single day to just try and learn something new and try and learn something that would ultimately give you some sort of an ROI, either personally or business.
Okay.
I love it. I love it. I love the book reading tip right there, because, even if you spend 10, 15 minutes every morning, get through 10 pages, that's like a couple books a month. That's like 20 books plus a year. Like, imagine how drastically your life could change if you read 20 books a year, just 20, like in self-development area, right? Or a business. I mean, one idea could change your life. One idea could take your business from 10,000 to 40,000. Like, one idea could take you from 5 figures to 6 figures. Like, it's absolutely insane, the compound effect. I read a book recently called The Slight Edge. I don't know if you guys have ever read that, but phenomenal read. I highly recommend it. But let's transition over to biggest mistakes. I mean, if you could go back in time with the knowledge you have now, and you guys could give yourself maybe one piece of advice to follow regarding this business, starting a media company, what would it be? What would one thing that you guys wish you could say to yourselves when you were first getting started? Maybe I'll hand that over to, we'll give it to Mac, the Mac Attack. What do you think, man?
I was raised in a really, really comfortable family. I love my parents to death. They provided a really, really comfortable middle-class life for me. But I was, unfortunately, I was taught that college is a necessity. And so I kind of had to go through that rough patch of dropping out of college and then having that wondering if I was going to be successful, trying to find my thing to do. So if I could go back, I would learn from you guys, and just like when you say there's so many ways to make money out there, it literally just pick one. It's unlimited. There's an unlimited ways to make money out there, and college has nothing to do with it. And so that's what I would do differently, because now I'm doing something every day that I get to choose to do instead of kind of something I was pushed into.
I think going on that personal route, for me, I thought that I needed to be alone to be free. And by that, you might have friends, you might have, very, very close relationships where you feel as if they're holding you back for whatever reason. And I think what you have to learn is that you don't have to be alone to be free. You just have to be with the kinds of people that allow you to be who you truly are. And whether that is people who support you in your entrepreneurial endeavors, or people who are going to be able to give you sound advice, not necessarily based off of their own reality, but based off of knowing who you are. And I'd say that was one of my biggest mistakes, which was, I walked away from things thinking that I needed to be alone to be free, and that just isn't the case.
Yeah, and to add, I think I don't know if you want to call it a regret or anything, but just not pulling the trigger on what could be potentially where we are, right? So having the idea in your head and letting it sit around for days, weeks, months, years, and then you finally get into it, and you're just like, God, why didn't I do this 2 years ago? Why didn't I start it? Like, I knew I had the skills, I knew I had the right idea. It could be something that would have been better if you just had more time under your belt, or it was a good idea that eventually got taken because you waited too long. So just not taking an opportunity that you have, and just like if you're thinking about it too much, you should probably execute, do something about it. And I have lots of examples, and I know lots of people in the same shoes right now. And I'm just glad that we didn't really hesitate to get things going.
Right. There's a piece of advice that Gary Vaynerchuk actually said is like, someone asked him in one of those keynote things, like, how can you become an entrepreneur? And Gary Vaynerchuk's response to it was that, sorry, my dogs are barking, but his response to that was like, if you are an entrepreneur, you will know it because that's the only thing that you think. Like, does that make sense? Like, someone asked him, when's the right time to become an entrepreneur? And he was like, look, if you're an entrepreneur, your thoughts will not stop. Like, they will always continue to be entrepreneurial thoughts. Reagan, what do you have to say about that?
I think he said something like, you feel like you're dying if you're working a job.
Yeah, exactly.
I forgot who said the quote, but he says, and someone said, in order to succeed, it's got to be as bad as like you wanting to breathe. Like if someone brought you into the water and took your head and put you under the water, what's the number one thing that you'd want to do? Like, you just want to breathe. Like when you're an entrepreneur, like you just want to like build, you want to create, you want to like work, you want to, add value and make a difference. That's really what it's about. So,
I think, Reagan, you're on the right path here. People mistake that need, and not a want, that's a need, for motivation. And motivation isn't what gets me up in the morning. It's a vision. It's something that pulls me, and it's not something that pushes me. I need something that's going to pull me, because motivation at the end of the day, like, I'm tired. Mac and I, we sit here and we're like, dude, what are we doing? Are we doing the right things? And we go home, and you're tired. We're up at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're trying to figure out, what the hell's going on. And ultimately, motivation's going to fade. But if you have a vision that pulls you, it's so much more powerful than motivation.
Because there's no motivation when you're under the water.
You want to get a full-time job. Like when you're struggling, like sometimes it's like, oh, like I could make 50 grand a year, and I could I could have everything paid for. I could have my retirement, like I could have 401k feeding into it. But I think a huge thing for us was like we went all in. So it's like when you talk about needing to breathe, it's like this is the only thing we have. Like we need to.
Let me ask you a question. I'm curious, and I want you guys to answer too, Chris. I'd like your input as well. Does a true entrepreneur have a backup plan for a job? Like I've heard people say before, like, they said they're an entrepreneur, but they're like, if this doesn't work, I know I could use my degree to get a job teaching, or I know I could do this as a backup working for somebody else. Is that a true entrepreneur or not? And I don't know what the answer is. Chris, why don't you start off with that?
I don't think it is. I just think that's the natural thought. When you become the entrepreneur and you come from, let's say, a working background like I did, it's natural to think that in low spots in your life, which will come, because if you're an entrepreneur, you'll be battling yourself at that point. If you're a lucky entrepreneur, you might end up with a team of 3 like these 3 gentlemen. But for most people, like me and Raken, it's almost like a solo adventure where you make some of your friends online and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, you are alone. And that's the worst part about being an entrepreneur, is battling yourself and your thoughts. And I don't think there's a right answer to, I think when you're first starting entrepreneurship, within the first year, maybe the first 2 years, when things start getting crazy and start getting low, maybe cash gets low and you're kind of strapped a little bit, you're automatically going to be thinking, damn, like, what did I do this for? Like, or what happened? but you will find a way out of it. That's the thing. I mean, real true entrepreneurs, resellers are just going to hit the street harder. They're going to find more goods. They're going to resell more goods, get themselves out of the hole, learn from the mistake, and then you get yourself into another hole. I mean, that's just the whole part about being an entrepreneur, but that's what makes it fun to live as an entrepreneur. Whereas other people that have jobs would be like terrified. When you tell them that story, they're completely mortified. They're like, holy crap. You mean you don't have like a 401 going on? Like what happens with insurance? Like what happens with all this stuff?
Where's
like
the guaranteed paycheck?
Yeah,
for next
where's
week?
all this? And that's the reason why I think, and Gary Vaynerchuk's statement is ultimately true. If you're an entrepreneur, you'll know it. Like you just know it. You can try to become an entrepreneur, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that true entrepreneurs know it, and you've been living it your entire life. I'll give you a case in point. I knew when I was an entrepreneur, like even young in life, like I remember when I was like 5 years old, I went to an air show, right? And I loved it so much. I saw these like planes doing loops and like thought it was great. All the noises were cool. That I went home and I took out a stack of papers and I built paper airplanes, right? And I colored them just like the planes I'd seen at the air show. And I made them look all cool. And then I made flyers overnight to my own front yard air show. And I was going to put them to everyone's doorstep, and I was going to charge like 25-cent admission. And I was going to literally just throw paper airplanes in the sky, make them do loops and rolls and stuff. And that was my air show. But that was when I was like 5 years old. I was like, you know what? And then my parents stopped me before I was going to distribute the papers out. They're like, hold on. You probably don't want to do that. And they're like, we don't want our kid going to random doors and like, soliciting like 25 cents and stuff. But that's kind of like, I've always been looking for ways to like do other things. But I will never write off college. I've been to college. I have my master's. I've done a lot of things. And I would never write it off because there are a lot of experiences that come with college. There are a lot of experience. There's some important people that you meet if you decide you want to go in the working force. I'm not going to write off college like it was a waste. I partied a lot. I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of great people. And I learned a lot of cool things about myself through college. Mostly failure, honestly, more than anything. Like I actually failed twice out of college. I had to write entrance essays when I got kicked out twice out of college, just so you know. So it's not fun. Like I've been on every part of the, loser radar back in the college days. But ultimately, I think that you will know if you're an entrepreneur. You'll know it inside. And if you go all in, even when you know it, I think you stand a good chance of making it. I really do.
You made an awesome point about backup plans and people I probably get asked maybe once a month or so, like just from somebody innocently saying, "Oh, what you're doing this? What's your backup plan?" But to me, it's like me asking them what's their backup plan. Like it's the equivalent, and they could be a doctor or a lawyer or an HR manager, and I could say, "What's your background? Or what's your backup plan?" And they say, "What do you mean? I'm an HR manager." But I say, that's how it sounds to me when somebody says, "What's your backup plan?" I'm like, "What do you mean? It's the equivalent." So that's kind of how it sounds to me.
Okay. Let's a quick answer to this question. We'll go with Jacob on this. Well, what's the thoughts on the future of your business? Do you think your opportunity will be there in 5 years with the media company and everything?
I think we'll be way too busy to even do this web call in 5 years.
Ooh, I like that. That's good. Damn, holy crap. Wow.
He was waiting to say that all show.
The whole show, man. The whole show, just waiting.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna
don't talk to me. Yeah.
We'll do a final words of wisdom segment, and then we'll retoot the Instagram, and then show will be off the air here. We're a little bit over time, but hopefully you guys will stick around for like 2 more minutes. Final words of wisdom from each one of y'all. Let's go with Mac first. Final words of wisdom to the people that are watching you live right now.
Go all in. We hit it. We hit it earlier. Do the thing that scares you most. So when somebody asks how do you get people to pay you to do stuff, my quickest answer is just ask. If you've never asked somebody for money, it's like the scariest thing you've ever done. So find your talent and go ask somebody for money to do it. They're gonna say no, but just go ask. So literally, like they're gonna say no, but do it. That'll be that first point.
Cool, Tim.
I think the reason why we all look to entrepreneurship is because we secretly love freedom. Because ultimately, that's what entrepreneurship is. It's freedom from someone else having to necessarily tell you you need to be here at 9 and you get to leave at 5. And oh, by the way, one of the guys just quit, and you need to work on a Saturday for the rest of the month. And if you truly want that freedom, then you're going to have to fight for that freedom. And you're going to have to do exactly what Mac just said. Because to me, that's what entrepreneurship is, and that's what success is to me, is freedom from anybody having to tell me what to do, unless it's the market as a whole, because now you're providing value. And if you understand that, I think you've set yourself apart from just about anybody else.
Okay. Jacob, what about you?
I think it's worth noting that even that we have a very like we can be mobile and nomadic and be anywhere we want. We actually spend a lot of time together. I'm in Austin, which is 2.5 hours away from Mac and Tim, and I spend half my time there. And I sleep in a little bed at my parents' house all the time when I have an apartment sitting here in Austin. But it's just so important that we're together. And it's even more important that we don't even have to be together. We can web call every day. We can do what y'all do, right? But I mean, I know Connecticut to Texas is way much of a hustle, and we definitely wouldn't do it as much if we were from that distance. But we spend a lot of time together from being in our situations. And I don't really know why or what it does, but I just know it's a good thing. And I think if you're in a situation like us, you should do it. It's probably very important long-term, and just it's going to keep your business going and have a confident vision for yourself.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Well, we blasted through the outline, and I will toss it over to Rakin to get some closing remarks, arguments. Ha! Arguments. Closing arguments, yes.
We're going to be too busy to talk to you in 5 years. No, I was just kidding.
But closing remarks, let's talk about that Instagram, Rakin. What is it? Let's tell it out as it is. It's Venture Addicts.
Venture Addicts. If you go into the description right now, first link.
It's a picture of me and Jacob, so it's just two guys. You'll know when you see it.
Yep. So go over there and give them a like. And yeah, we really hope that you guys were able to, watch this video and really enjoy it. It might be a little different than what you're doing in terms of your business, but I think there was a lot of parallels in terms of, the entrepreneurship tips and gold nuggets. If you're looking for something to start, to be able to build a business and travel, nomadic, and maybe even something that you're passionate about. If you're into photography, if you like working with other people, maybe you have some experience with Facebook ads or marketing, or maybe you just want to go down that road, starting your own media company might be a good option for you. So hopefully you found some value in the show. If you did like this video, do us a big favor and hit the like button down below. Subscribe, check out the Bonafide Hustlers YouTube channel as well. He's putting out a lot of regular content. Check out Venture Addicts on Instagram. They're also on YouTube as well. Link down below. With that being said, everybody, Tim, Jacob, Mac, thanks for coming on, and hopefully you guys, viewers coming over and checking out your stuff, that would be cool. But yeah, thanks you guys. We'll see you guys in the next video. Appreciate everybody watching, and talk to you soon. Have a good night. Bye.